Hello, the Biochemical Society and Portland Press are pleased to welcome you to this webinar. The webinar is part of the Biochemistry Focus series. Topics in this series include different research areas in the molecular biosciences, and practical sessions are also included, sessions on supporting career development. Each webinar will give you the opportunity to ask questions via text, and we welcome suggestions for future topics as well for future webinars, as well as speakers in the webinar series. Please look at the website for further details. So my name is Dr. Sassan Hafizi from the University of Portsmouth, and I'm a member of the Biochemical Society Grants Committee. And the Society offers a program of grants for all stages of career, and that support research. They support attendance at scientific conferences, as well as sponsorship of events that you can be involved in organizing. In today's webinar, we welcome Drs. Helen Watson, Gavin McStay, and Simon Moore to discuss some of the Biochemical Society's main grant schemes with the aim of highlighting what information you need to include for a successful grant application. Before I hand over to our first speaker, I'd like to mention that questions will be asked at the end of the webinar, but please do send in your questions during the talks. If you have a question to ask, you can type in the question in the box as shown on the image on the screen, there on the right, and we will try to answer as many questions as possible at the end, after each session. So our first speaker today is Dr. Helen Watson from the University of Plymouth. Helen will be discussing the popular Summer Vacation Studentships, SVS as we call it, as well as science outreach grants. So these are two schemes that she will introduce to you today. I'll hand it over to Helen. Thank you.
Thanks, Sassan. Could I just check you can see my slide okay?
Yes, we can.
Great, thanks. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to talk to you today about our education focused grants. So my name is Helen Watson. I'm Associate Professor of Bioscience Education at the University of Plymouth, and I also chair the Biochemical Society's Education Committee. So the two education related grants I'm going to talk about today are the Summer Vacation Studentships and the Scientific Outreach Grants. Both of these schemes have been running for a significant length of time now and quite popular, with lots of applications and lots of brilliant projects resulting from them. Both have had kind of recent changes to enhance the scheme. So we've kind of built on these and added some extras, which I'll discuss during the talk. So firstly, I'm going to talk about our Summer Vacation Studentships. These have been expanded significantly in the last year or two. They used to be available just for essentially a research project, but we've kind of learned from what happened during the pandemic and expanded them quite significantly. So I'll talk through the different strands of these, and this is kind of to recognise the fact that graduates from biochemistry degrees go on to do lots of different careers, many diverse careers, not just research, not just lab-focused research either. So to reflect that, we wanted to offer several different opportunities within this. So the Summer Vacation Studentships offer funding for 6-week summer placements for undergraduate students. These could be within a research group. We also offer Summer Vacation Studentships to undertake programming skills training. We also have public engagement opportunities and publishing opportunities. And these placements are open for all undergraduate students studying biochemistry, molecular bioscience and related subjects. So you don't have to be on a degree that's called biochemistry, but anything kind of within that area is fine. And the students will take the studentship during one of the middle summers of their degree. So it would usually be, if you were on a 3-year BSc, for example, the summer before the final year, so after your 2nd year. With the research project studentships, the supervisor of the project usually an academic, must be a member of the society, but the student doesn't have to be. All schemes are open to mature students, and our research and our programming ones are also open to overseas students. So we ask for applications from students for these studentships. They have been quite competitive in the past, and they're proving to be more competitive as well now we have the different strands. So we have quite a robust assessment system so that we select the right candidates. So we score each question on a scale of 1 to 10. Those of you familiar with marking criteria will find this very familiar. Essentially, 0 will be poor, 4 would give some justification but a bit vague, 7 around about there would give clear justification, it's kind of good level of detail, and a 10 out of 10 would be very clear justification, well thought out benefits, concise reasoning, and outstanding consideration of the skills to be developed. So for these studentships, we ask students to consider why they want to do the studentships in terms of their future career, in terms of kind of technical knowledge, subject knowledge, but also thinking about the skills they'll develop that will be helpful for them in future. And each of our studentships we score slightly differently according to what the students will be doing. So for the research studentships, where the student will be working with a research group, we score both student statements and supervisor statements. So we ask students to give their reasons for applying, some evidence of their interest in the area of research, what they hope to contribute to the research group, and thinking, as I was saying, about the development of both technical and transferable skills during the placement. For the supervisor, we ask about the scientific content, we ask about the rationale of the project and relevance to the field, the time frame to make sure that they've devised a project that's kind of achievable within the time, what support they'll offer to the students, so how they'll teach them to do what they need to do, and what if there's any problems. And we also ask the supervisors to consider what skills the student's going to develop, technical and transferable. For the programming studentships, so these are studentships where instead of being in a research group, the student will undertake some of our, or 2 of our programming courses that we run in Python and R. So they will be given access to both of these courses and asked to complete them within a certain time. They'll also be given access to webinars to help them think about their skills development and support during the courses. So for these studentships, we asked only for a student statement, again, similar types of things. We want to know why they're applying. We want to think about the development of analytical and computational skills, also the impact of the studentship on their wider knowledge and transferable skills, thinking about their future career. And also we ask about time management and online learning, because with these studentships, students will be left to complete the courses themselves, so they will need to demonstrate self-direction and time management to get it done. The public engagement and science communication studentships, so these will be working with professionals in the society on public engagement and science communication. So they'll be working alongside these teams to deliver some kind of project. And we score them in the following areas. So again, it's just a student statement, because they'll be working with staff here in the society. We ask about why they're applying, again, development of transferable skills. We ask about their interest and awareness of approaches to public engagement and science communication. We don't expect them to be very experienced at this point, but to demonstrate some interest in the area. Thinking about remote working, so they'll be working with the teams at the society, but this will be done remotely as the society works remotely. And thinking about teamwork as well, because we're working alongside a small team. And with scientific publishing, again, this is similar. So we'll be working, students here will be working alongside scientific publishing experts from the society, or from Portland Press, I should say. So again, they'll be working remotely alongside colleagues from Portland Press. So we ask similar things, why they're applying, what transferable skills they hope to develop, thinking about remote working, teamwork, and then again, thinking about the subject. So in this case, awareness of the publishing process. And again, we're not expecting anyone in their penultimate year of their degree to have a great knowledge of the publishing sector, but we would like people to demonstrate an interest and some knowledge. So I'm going to move on now to talk about our scientific outreach grants, and this is another education-focused series of grants that's been running for some time, and we've recently made a small change to this scheme. These grants exist to fund public engagement and outreach activity in the molecular bioscience, and this is a key aspect of our strategy as a society, that we inform the public and we inform people in various stages of education about molecular bioscience. And so we think it's important to help people to do these activities by funding them through these grants. So these ones are open to everyone. You don't need to be a member to apply, and we recognise that because lots of people that apply for these might be doing it on behalf of community groups or primary schools or those kinds of organisations where you wouldn't necessarily think you wouldn't necessarily be a member of the society. We used to just fund up to £1,000. We've now changed this scheme, so we offer two separate pots. We offer grants of up to £1,000, but we also offer much larger pots of up to £5,000. And I'll talk about how they differ in a moment. But essentially, the projects must communicate the excitement of molecular bioscience to young people in the community. And this can be at any level. It could be talking to primary school level children. It could be the general public at a kind of science event, or we've had people at like music festivals and that kind of thing in a big public space communicating science. It could be working with students that are a bit older, say GCSE level or A-level students, about biochemistry more specifically. And about something in a bit more detail. Essentially, it has to be the activity has to be relevant for the target audience, and where possible, it should focus on the molecular biosciences rather than science in general. Although we appreciate that, obviously, with say community groups or younger children, you may frame it in a more general science kind of context. It can't support commercial activities and it can't support recruitment drives. So this isn't going to be a tool to get people to apply for your biochemistry degree. It's kind of supporting the strategy of the society in terms of outreach and public engagement. So for the smaller projects, the up to £1,000 projects, kind of examples of types of things you might do, and we've run these for quite a long time, and we've got lots of accounts of people that have written up after their activities if you want to see some examples. But up to the £1,000 mark, you might be thinking about reusing established activities or resources with a new perspective. So an activity that for example the society has, like scientific scissors or something. It could be developing a new activity or resource for participants for like a one-off event. It could be things like a workshop or a lecture series, or lecture for students or teachers or communities. You could do something online. So in the pandemic, we saw people moved online a bit more for these things, thinking about activities that can be used to engage communities online. It could be community-led activities based on your research interests, so communicating your research to a community group in a way that they would understand and be interested. So they're the kind of ideas of the smaller projects, and as I say, we have funding up to £1,000 for those. If you wanted to do a smaller one that would cost significantly less than £1,000, that's fine too. You can just apply up to that amount. For the larger ones, this is up to £5,000. So as you can see by the difference in funding, that's quite a significant difference. So we expect something much more substantial for the £5,000 one. So this might be something where you're thinking more sustainable. So you're developing a new activity or resource for a group of participants for sustained use, or for lots of groups, or on lots of occasions. It could be something like a series of workshops or a series of lectures for students or teachers or communities that you would continually engage with the same participants or different participants. It could be about developing a new or expanded engagement event, so a science community festival, but again, the scale of it needs to reflect that increased funding. Or sustained community-led activities or engagement based on new research. So again, similar types of things, but you're looking at a much bigger scale and over a longer period, most likely. We have quite a well-established assessment process for these grants now. They've been around for some time, and we've kind of honed the criteria over time as we've learned what works and what doesn't, and where the successes have been. So we think about the impact of the project on both the people that have received the communication, if you like, but also those who have run it. Thinking about promotion of our discipline and molecular biosciences. Like I say, if you're talking to 4-year-olds, you probably don't focus in that much on biochemistry. Protein structures may be a bit of a mystery to them, so you might think about living things more broadly, which is fine, but as you go through and if you talk to people that are a bit more knowledgeable about sciences, say you're thinking about talking to A-level students, we'd expect you focus more in on the molecular biosciences. And then we also assess on financial need for support for the project. And I'll go through each one. So with the impact, thinking about the impact, you're probably familiar with these kinds of analyses of projects, but thinking about aims and objectives, how you're going to measure it, so how you know it's going to be, how you know it's been a success, or how you evaluate it, what the outputs might be. We ask if you've included anything interactive or hands-on, if there's any plans for collaboration. So we're very encouraging where people collaborate to do these kinds of things, especially between sort of schools, universities, community centres, businesses, various other places, and thinking about promoting molecular bioscience career opportunities where it's relevant to. Promotion of molecular biosciences as a discipline, so thinking about how you disseminate relevant information at the correct level. Thinking about widening participation in bioscience. So this is where we think about whether the applicants have thought about underrepresented groups in science, those who might not normally have a chance to do these kinds of things. So widening participation is an important criteria. So you might do that by thinking about how many people you're going to reach, what's your target demographic, what topics you're looking at, what skills and knowledge they might develop, and what resources might be available. And finally, financial need for support. So thinking about the funding available, and again, relating it back to which one of those two pots you go for. So we need a clear and detailed breakdown of costs. We need to know exactly what the money's going to, and any existing funding. So some people get funding from us and another learning society or from their own institution. Why you're asking us for the money and what level of support you need. And like I say, what the funds will be used for. So we tend to want to fund things that will create a sustainable activity. So if you only ask us for travel fees and catering, we tend not to fund that. We're looking for something more sustainable, like development of a resource, for example. Okay, that's all of my slides. Thanks for your attention. I'm going to hand back to Sassan now for the next one.
Thank you very much, Helen. That was very good. And we learned about two very popular and impactful schemes, reaching to people on a personal developmental level, as well as impacting on larger community as well. So that was very useful. We'll be able to pose questions asked by the audience a bit later on this. So we can now move on to the next invited speaker, who is Dr. Gavin McStay from Liverpool John Moores University. Gavin will discuss our Diversity in Science grants scheme.
Hi, Sassan, thank you.
I can see your slides, Gavin.
Okay, thank you so much. Hold on. Okay, so hi everyone. I'm Dr. Gavin McStay. I'm a senior lecturer at Liverpool John Moores University in Liverpool, and my research focuses on the roles of mitochondria and in eukaryotic life and death. I'm a member of the Biochemical Society's Grants Committee, and I'm on the Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Advisory Panel as well. And today I'm going to talk about the diversity in science grants that the Biochemical Society offers. So these grants are available to any individual or group with a project that will support and address issues relating to inclusion and diversity in science. You do not need to be a member of the Society to apply, and you don't need to be based in the UK. These grants are open to applicants from any country. There's only one application round per year, and this typically runs between October and November, and the event or activity can be run at any time up to the 31st of October of the following year. We welcome applications from any area of science as long as there is an original approach to addressing issues related to inclusion or diversity in science. Within this scheme, we typically award grants of up to £500, but in exceptional circumstances, we can award up to £1,000 for larger, well-defined projects that have a broader scope for development and dissemination of research. So far, we have awarded diversity in science grants for a variety of projects, and here are just some examples. We have funded efforts to decolonize and diversify the curriculum, encouraging and embracing Black diversity in industry, co-creation of resources for empathy development in academics, supporting practical science for students with visual impairment, and also translation of popular science content into regional languages. Like the other grants and funding, we have the assessment criteria. There are three main criteria that we base these diversity in science grants on. These are the originality and relevance of the proposed project in addressing issues and challenges relating to diversity in science, the evaluation of potential impact, and the financial need for support. So to break these points down even further, let's just first discuss what to include in the proposal. As mentioned before, the project or activity proposed must be an original approach to addressing an issue or challenge relating to diversity in science. We won't support any projects that duplicate existing research where new findings would not add any value or insight. The proposal itself should be well written, with any key dates, audience, and collaborators mentioned if applicable. The aims and objectives of your project should be clearly outlined, as well as details on how you plan to achieve them. For example, if you're organising a survey targeting undergraduate students studying STEM subjects, how will you ensure that your sample pool includes participants from a range of socio-cultural backgrounds? Furthermore, what expertise and backgrounds do you bring to this project? Have you run similar projects before, or do you belong to any related communities or networks? Including this information in the proposal helps us understand your background in the field, as well as your familiarity with the work proposed, which increases the project confidence that this project will go ahead as planned. The second criteria is evaluation of potential impact, as we want to support projects that increase awareness and promote systems through which inclusion and diversity in science can be effectively addressed. We therefore want to see that applicants have considered what the potential future impact of the project or activity will be. This could be to a particular field, demographic, institution, or even the wider molecular biosciences community. This impact can either be short or long term, but you should also include an indication of how you plan to assess this impact. This will be beneficial for writing up your post-activity report if your application is successful. We'd also like applicants to demonstrate an understanding of any potential risks associated with the project. For example, this could be things like gaining ethical approval or collection of incorrect data. What contingency plans would you put in place? This could be something simple like an online alternative planned for a face-to-face event. Then the last part of this section comes down to the next steps. What do you plan to do with your findings or outcomes? Do you plan to expand your activity or run a repeat event in the future? Will there be changes made to resources or your curriculum as a result? And then also, what channels or networks are you part of or aware of in which any achievements arising from your project could be further disseminated? All this information builds a clearer picture of where your project falls within the biosciences landscape and increases your chances of receiving funding. Lastly, it comes down to the financial need for support. In order to effectively demonstrate your case for funding, we are looking for a clear and detailed breakdown of costs. This should include an indication of whether these are known or estimated costs, as well as details of any existing funding that you already have available for this project. This could be from your institution or other external organizations. We strongly encourage applicants to apply for external funding, and this will not impact your chances of receiving a diversity in science grant to top up or expand on other funding. Finally, you should also clarify why you are seeking this particular level of funding from the Society. Remember, we do not support any projects where the only costs are for travel and/or refreshments, so these should not be included in your item breakdown. Acceptable funding requests could be for interns or summer placements to undertake research, for resources or equipment, or for incentives for survey participants or travel grants to encourage the participation of attendees from all backgrounds. What I've shown you here is just a selection of things we have previously supported, and we really do encourage applications for a wide range of new activities and exciting projects. So thank you very much for listening, and I'll be happy to take any questions at the end of the webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Gavin. And as Gavin mentioned, we'll be able to put audience questions to him later on that particular scheme that he outlined. And with that, we can now move to Simon, Dr. Simon Moore from Queen Mary University of London. And Simon will be presenting to you the special scheme Reid Fund for methodology. Please, Simon.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me clearly? Okay. So, hello, I am Simon Moore, a lecturer in synthetic biology at Queen Mary University of London. My group works within the cell-free synthetic biology field for applications such as engineering new drugs. Last year, I was awarded a grant from the Reid Fund, and this supported a project to develop a cell-free biosensor method to monitor changes in bacterial energy metabolism in response to antibiotics. And we see this as a way to be able to study antimicrobial resistance. This funding was vital for the support of a laboratory experience for an undergraduate student and for the collection of data, which is now currently in late stage review in a journal. I then joined the Reid Management Committee earlier this year to provide voluntary help for the Biochemical Society. Today, I've been asked to explain what we are looking for when we assess your applications for this scheme. Next slide, please. So this fund is awarded in honour of Dr. Reid, who was the head of the Wolfson Bioanalytical Centre until his retirement in 1982. Reid successfully led the organisation of annual international symposia in the areas of analytical methodology and subcellular biochemistry, and as well as the popular publication Methodological Surveys, until he sadly passed away in April 2010. With this background in mind, the Biochemical Society aims to continue his legacy by offering modest financial support for bench work. These grants are available to early career, full or emeritus members of the Biochemical Society, and the proposed project must focus on setting up or improving methodology. This could be developing and applying a new technique and checking the application of a known technique in new circumstances, or for feasibility studies by new staff before they apply to a major award granting body. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry, go back one. That's a mistake. Within this scheme, we invite applications for 2 different funding levels. We are currently offering up to £4,000 for consumables only and up to £6,000 to cover an additional £2,000 stipend. And this is for supporting a summer vacation student. Please note that you do not have to apply for the full amount in either of these schemes, as we do welcome applications for lower amounts as well. So only apply for what you require. Next slide, please. The Eric Reid Fund has benefited many projects so far, some of which include methods for preparing deuterated glucose, improving RNA isolation protocols, and developing an approach for the measurement of inflammatory responses in bone marrow-derived macrophages. In particular, 2 projects that we funded in 2022 have recently had the results published in the Biochemist, quotes from which you can see on the available slides. Both projects were highly successful in their aims of testing a new technique or validating a known technique in new circumstances, and have plans to continue their research in these areas. Next slide, please. So what did these applicants include in their proposals that enabled them to be successful? Well, they all met 3 main criteria: scientific case and methodology, familiarity with the work, and financial case for support. Next slide, please. To break these points down even further, let's first discuss the scientific case presented. First, some of these points are common to any successful grant. The proposal itself must be well written and comprehensive to scientists outside of your immediate field of study. This includes clearly defining any abbreviations or subject-specific terminology. The aims and objectives should be outlined at the beginning to demonstrate the unique perspective of the project and what new methodologies will be implemented. And I think it's very important here also to emphasize the importance of the project in the broader context. And this is to ensure that it meets the criteria of the fund. We'd also like to see that you've considered any potential risks that are associated with the project and what solutions or contingency plans you have in place. For example, if you're developing a novel method that involves the analysis of a protein that is prone to aggregation or has inherent instability issues, my suggestion is to write clear steps that would help de-risk this problem. Finally, please also indicate what you predict the next steps of your project to be, if successful. This allows us to see the potential impact of your project to the field or wider molecular biosciences community, and highlights why funds should be allocated towards this initiative. So in essence here, the most important thing is to be explicit in what you're doing and what you're hoping to achieve. Next slide, please. Familiarity with work. Secondly, we would want to understand your circumstances and what expertise you bring to this project. Therefore, we ask you to provide a short career sketch, which can be your CV, and a list of your 3 most recent publications with citations. This helps us to understand your background in the field, as well as your familiarity with the work proposed. If you've taken in career breaks due to redundancy, shared parental leave, relocation, or carer responsibilities, for example, or have any gaps in your publication history, we do ask that you provide an explanation for this, so then we have a clear understanding and overview for all candidates and their projects. Next slide, please. Last, it comes down to the financial case for support. Like many funding calls, applications for the Eric Reid Fund are often oversubscribed every year, so the committee has had to make some really difficult decisions to make. In order to effectively demonstrate your case for funding, we are looking for a clear and detailed breakdown of costs. This should include any items and lists of consumables, as well as details of any existing funding that you already have. This could be from your institution or other external organisations. Having support from these avenues does not impact your chances of receiving an Eric Reid grant, but it gives us a clear understanding of what support you already have and essentially steps that you've taken in the project already. Finally, you should also clarify why you are seeking funds from the Society for this project and why the inclusion of a summer student would be beneficial, if applicable. Just a reminder on that note that if you're requesting a stipend for a summer student, they must be an undergraduate student or a recent graduate who is engaged in bench work rather than writing up. This fund is not intended to supplement students enrolled on master's or PhD programs, and your application would be unsuccessful if that is the case. If you're seeking funds to support a summer student, please do include details on any training that they will undertake and the benefit this opportunity will have on their future studies and career. And one additional note here is I would also encourage you to be explicit in what sort of support will be given to the student in the laboratory. Thank you for listening, and I'm happy to take any questions at the end of the webinar.
Thank you very much, Simon, for that overview of that scheme. And we can now welcome back all of our speakers. Having now heard about all of these schemes, we've been able to look through a lot of questions that the audience has posed, and we can ask a selection of them, covering each of the schemes talked about today. So I'll be able to now raise some of these questions to our panelists. I'll begin with Helen, who's talked about the two schemes, the Summer Vacation Studentship and the Scientific Outreach Grants. So one question relating to the Summer Vacation Studentship is, how long do the courses take for the Programming Skills SVS?
Thanks. Yeah, this really varies. So different learners take different amounts of time. We estimate that it's about 1 hour per module for the R course and about 2 hours per module for the Python course. So we think learners complete it somewhere between 4 and 18 hours. Obviously, that's quite a variation, but it will depend on lots of things. In particular, if anyone's got previous experience of using any of these programs. So yes, it's quite varied, but it's, like I said before, it's kind of up to the student to manage their time during that period so that they complete both courses.
Thank you. And this is a very important question as well, in relation to our wide reach, global reach for our membership of the Society. So for all the grant schemes mentioned today, is the application process the same for international applicants?
Yeah, so it's exactly the same. So the criteria is exactly the same and the process is exactly the same, whether you're in the UK or anywhere else in the world, regardless of career stage. So if you go onto our website, which is biochemistry.org, you can find the full lists of grants and bursaries available, and you can find the individual scheme criteria there. So yes, it's exactly the same.
Okay. And a question related to what kind of institution applicants can be applying from. So one question is, if the applicant is from a college-based higher education provider, are they able to apply?
Yeah, so from the ones we've talked about today, the scientific outreach grants and the diversity in science grants are both open to organisations and individuals, as long as I mentioned, the project is not recruitment focused. So yes, for those grants, that's fine. And obviously the activity or event would just have to fit the remit of the grant that they apply for.
Thank you. So looking at a question related to the scheme presented by Gavin, this question is, can I reapply for funding from this scheme if I have already received a diversity in science grant previously?
Yes, thank you for the question. This is absolutely, you can do this. You need to make sure that you have submitted a satisfactory report from your previous project. So that would mean that you are then eligible to apply again. You could do this as part of an expansion of the same project, or if you had a completely new activity, this could also be something that you apply for as well.
Mm. And are non-society members eligible to apply for funding as well?
Again, the answer to this is yes. Helen's what Helen presented and what I've presented, these schemes can be applied for by non-members. So this is diversity in science and scientific outreach grants. There are also other schemes from the Biochemical Society, such as the Krebs Memorial Scholarship, which rewards exceptional academic distinction by providing financial support during a PhD.
And how long does a new member have to wait in order to be eligible for these grants?
So for all of the schemes we've mentioned today, as well as the other bursaries that the Society offers, new members are eligible straight away. So immediately upon becoming a member, you are eligible. But there are some other schemes where we require a minimum length of membership. So these are things like our conference and travel grant related schemes, which usually ask for a minimum of 1 year membership, or 6 months if you are a multi-year member. But take a look at the website where you'll find exact details for each of the schemes that are offered.
Thank you. So if we look at some questions asked about the Eric Reid grant as presented by Simon, I'll relay one of them now. Are postgraduates eligible to apply for an Eric Reid grant?
Thank you for your question. Unfortunately, postgraduates are not eligible for this specific grant because this is very much focused on early career researchers to senior researchers. However, based on the earlier presentations, there is a large variety of other grants that can be applied to. And this is something that we would encourage you to do because it's very good for your CV.
And a rather broad question, but someone has asked what topics will be accepted for the Eric Reid Fund for Methodology.
There is a very wide range of topics. The applications that come through are extremely diverse, but they have a particular emphasis on cellular or bioanalytical methods. The funded projects previously have included from structural biology, mechanosensing, cancer biology, evolutionary biology, and regenerative medicine, and essentially biochemistry related projects.
And if there is a summer student involved in the Eric Reid grant, then do they need to be named in the application?
This is a very good question. There isn't a requirement to name the summer student. However, if it is included, this can potentially benefit the case of the specific student in mind if it has a clear relevance and connection to the project. If you're successful, you'll be asked to confirm the name of the student before the funds are awarded to ensure that they are an undergraduate student and adhere to the funding criteria.
Thank you very much for those answers to those questions that we drew from questions posed by audience members today. And I hope that's provided more information for you about this set of schemes from today's session. I'd like to thank the audience as well for attending, and almost drawing the session to a close, I'd like to provide some information about the Society and also raise your awareness about some of our activities. We can continue the conversation online through X, Twitter. We have the hashtag BiochemSoc and PPP Publishing. As has been mentioned, the Biochemical Society offers a large portfolio of funding opportunities, some of which you've heard about today, and they do cover all career stages, everything from undergraduate level, even before, up to emeritus level. and so does our membership schemes as well. So to find out more information about grants and award schemes and the upcoming deadlines and how to apply, visit the website. Details will be shown on the screen. As you can see, there is also the QR code that you can scan to access that information, as well as the website. So we also welcome suggestions for future topics and speakers for webinars in the biochemistry focus series. So you're welcome to contact us and provide us with a suggestion for an idea for a topic for a webinar, as well as speakers for that topic. So if you have an idea, please go ahead and submit a proposal, and the information for how to apply will be on the website. You can find out all about the webinars and how to apply through the web link biochemistry.org/events and training. You should be able to link through to it through the website. All of our webinars are listed on the website as well, and they are also recorded and they are accessible through our YouTube channel as well. We have more than 50 webinars that we've already run as part of the series, and you're welcome to watch the recordings of those either through the website of the Biochemical Society or our YouTube channel. So today's session will also be available as a recording within the next couple of weeks. I'd like to also mention that the round for 2025 awards, the Biochemical Society Awards for 2025, are now open for nominations. And this round features new categories, and the nomination process has also been streamlined. This is a really good opportunity to nominate an outstanding peer or colleague who deserves recognition. The deadline for the nomination is the 1st of November, as you can see, and submissions are welcomed by both members and non-members of the Society alike, both for nominations and as nominees. So please consult the website for more information on this. And as a society, we believe that it's very important to stay connected, to engage with other molecular bioscientists. And so we welcome new membership as well from all levels as mentioned. And we would like to raise your awareness about the number of benefits that a membership of the Society offers. This includes discounted registration fees for Society courses and meetings, exclusive access to a wide range of grants and bursaries, personal online access to 2 of our journals through the Portland Press Publishing, and more. Visit the website, as mentioned, to find out more about all of this wide range of benefits that Society membership offers. I'm sure we, as today's panelists, have personal experience of benefits of being members of the Society over the years, whether it be through sponsorship of events or attendance at conferences or workshops or courses. So I'd like to thank you for your attention today and attendance. I'd like to thank our panelists as well. And by all means, consult the website or get in touch with us with any questions. And I will close the session today. Thank you very much all.